आप हेलो, अगर वो सर, वो एक तारा गांधी का ना वीडियो भी है, तारा गांधी जी का। हेलो, 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 पूनम
Namaskar. Good
नहीं यार,
afternoon.
शुरू कर दो
Friends,
टाइम।
welcome to the online literature conference on environment and literature with participation of BIMSTEC countries Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, organized by Sahitya Akademi and Foundation of Shark Writers and Literature. The conference was inaugurated today at 10 a.m., where eminent scholar and sociologist Sri Ashish Nandi delivered the keynote address. The other dignitaries on the occasion were Ms. Ajit Kaur, Professor Chandrasekhar Kambar, Sri Madhav Kaushik, and Dr. K. Srinivas Rao, along with the writers from BIMSTEC countries as guests of honor. This is the third session of the conference devoted to the readings of fictions. The session is being chaired by Ms. Selina Hossain from Bangladesh. We are expecting her to join the meeting. Sri Aruni Kalupahana from Sri Lanka. He will also join uh, within some time. And Ms. Gayatri Majumdar from India and Ashwini Lama from Bhutan are the other fiction writers in this session who are going to present their short stories. Now, may I request Ms. Ashwini Lama to read out her short story.
Thank you so much, Dr. Devendra Kuzazampala, and a very good afternoon and hello. I am Ashwini Lama. My pronouns are she, her, and I am from Bhutan. I'm a poet, writer, and author. I've been writing ever since I can remember. My parents tell me that I knew most nursery rhymes by the time I was 2, and I had already at that age chosen for English to be my favorite language. I write poems, including advocacy pieces, and have explored the genres of script writing and spoken word poetry as well. In 2019, I published my first novel, which is a young adult fiction, from which I am going to read to you today. I believe that words hold the power to explain human emotions and relations in a way that else can. And that is what I have tried to do with my first novel, Two Ends of the Sky. This novel is about two friends who are soulmates in ways greater than just a romantic relationship. I will now read from chapter 19 of my book, where the female protagonist, Liana, remembers about a conversation that she has had with her best friend, Sky, who is actually a writer himself. So here I go. Chapter 19. I hadn't told him. I hadn't said anything about my feelings. Instead, I had just babbled on about going to see the city with my sister and how much fun we had all had together. I hadn't even told him that I was the one who actually missed his company. He had listened patiently as I went on and on about every single detail, and when I was done, he had said, "Do you still have more to say?" And we had both laughed. It had always been like this. I would do the talking and he would listen. He would listen, and at the end of it, he would tell me all about what he thought of the things I had said. But of course, in short sentences and limited words. "You act as if you talk too much, you won't be able to write those words," I used to say to him. The static on the phone comforted me and somehow made the distance seem shorter. I battled myself, trying to decide if I should tell him or not. At the end of my losing battle, instead of speaking my feelings, I had asked, "Have you written anything new lately?" He nodded yes. Don't ask me how I saw him nod through the phone, I just sensed it. It was one of our things. I had then asked him to read it to me. After the audible flips of a few pages, his voice had carried his beautiful words and soothed my soul as I lay on my bed, closing my eyes to feel him as if he was right there. Okay, so it's titled The House of Dreams, he had read. Every day on his way to school, the boy passed by the front of the house. It was a funny-looking house. The windows weren't in their traditional places. The porch didn't have a chair, but had a swing like that on a playground, and instead of white picket fences, it had this wall painted with all sorts of colors. Every day the boy wondered who lived in that house, for he had never known anyone in school who came from there, and neither had he ever heard his parents mention anything regarding its residents. One day, he had overheard some of the bigger students in his school telling the smaller ones stories about how the house was haunted and how no one who ever went inside came out. One of the bigger boys had sworn that the colorful walls were just a lure for the smaller kids, so that the house could have the kids for its dinner. But he didn't believe in this. He knew that this house was anything but haunted, and the only reason no one knew about it was probably because no one had lived there in a long time. Today, he was walking to school again, and on his way, the boy passed the house again. He looked at it, as he always did, but today did something unexpected. He stopped walking. Even though he was not scared, he had never ever stopped walking in front of the house, but today he felt like he had to know what or who was inside. So he slowly made his way to the colorful wall and noticed for the first time ever that there was no gate to enter. Puzzled, he searched around the whole house, but the house was fully surrounded by the wall with no gate anywhere. He checked his watch and he was almost late for school. He had really wanted to go in, but decided he couldn't risk his parents finding out that he had stopped there and had been late to school. So he took one last look at the house and ran. All day that day and all night, he wondered what he should do and could do to get into the house. The next day, he asked his mom to set out his best pair of sneakers and waved her goodbye as he left for school, earlier than usual. He stopped outside the house again and set his school bag down, leaning it on the wall. He took one look at the house, and as if it was more than just a house, he spoke to it. "I want to come see you. Will you please let me?" He knew that the house wasn't going to answer, but it was polite to ask, and politeness was usually how he made friends. He checked his watch, making sure that he wouldn't be too late. It read 8:02 a.m. Plenty of time, he thought, and then jumped to grab the top of the wall. He was successful in securing his hold on the ledge. With this, he lifted his feet off the ground and tried to find his footing. Finally, after about 3 tries, he was on the wall and over it. As he dropped down to the other side of the wall, he realized that the inside was so much more colorful than the outside. He touched the green grass in the lawn and smiled at how it felt as if it had been freshly cut and watered. He made his way to the porch and knocked on the door. He noticed how the porch and the swing were clean, like the house had been expecting company. But no one answered the door. He decided to check if it was open. The door opened without a single creak, and when he looked inside, he saw things his eyes could not believe. His lips turned up into a big smile and his eyes widened with excitement. He ran inside the house and saw the best of things. Like a hologram presentation, he saw children laughing and playing. He saw lovers falling in love. He saw writers signing their books, people carrying their children for the first time, and he saw himself laughing and smiling and doing all the things he had ever wanted to do. He looked around and saw all the things he loved, and he noticed the music that had been playing ever since he had entered the house. He then looked up to the ceiling and noticed that there was no ceiling, but there was a warm light shining on him from somewhere. He closed his eyes and wished for something. He wished for more people to see that the house was anything but haunted. He looked around one last time, his heart bursting with happiness. "Now I know why no one who comes in here leaves," he said, "but I can't stay for long because I have school." He found the main door and exited the house. When he had gotten outside and pulled the door carefully behind him, hoping none of the magic escaped, he looked at the door and smiled once more. "Thank you," he hugged the door. "I want us to be the best of friends." He ran across the lawn and the flowers in the garden swayed as if to say goodbye, come again, and he waved right back at them. When he got to the wall, he was surprised to see a small gate where he had climbed. He knew that it was his friend telling him that he could visit her whenever he wanted now. He whispered, "Thank you," and exited the gate, picked up his school bag and checked his watch, praying that he wasn't too late. When he saw the time on his watch, his face burst into a huge smile and he looked at the house of dreams and knew it would now always have his back. He started walking slowly to school, swinging his arms as the watch on his wrist read the exact same time he had entered the house, 8:02 a.m. I had been completely lost in Sky's words when he stopped. I had had nothing to say. Liana, are you still there? My best friend's voice spoke through the phone. Yes, I whispered. That was so beautiful. I felt a smile. Thank you. It's my new favorite. Our old had been this one story he had written about a little girl at a beach. That story had been so sad, but I had loved it so much. What made this one beat the other story? I had asked, knowing very well that that story had held so much weight. Sky said, this one was more personal. Personal? Yes, he had said, not explaining it further. I'm glad you liked it as well. I sat up on my bed. Are you kidding me? I loved it. It was beautiful, but can you tell me one thing? Was the House of Dreams really just a house? Sky had laughed on the other end. You continue to surprise me. He never gave me an answer, but I felt like it was a victory for me. So I had thrown a fist into the air. Thank you, Sky. Good night. I'll talk to you soon, I had said, as I hung up after I heard my sister enter the room. It is now a little past a week after that day, and my sister is back in her own college. It does feel a little lonely here without her and Sky, but I know that everything will be okay. Regarding Sky, I haven't yet had any magical universal sign telling me that it is time to go inside, but I feel hopeful that that day too surely shall come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Aswini Lamaji. Now may I request Miss Gayatri Mazumdar from India to present her short story.
Thank you so much, Dr. Devesh, and I can see Praveen as well. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Greetings from Pondicherry, India. I'm delighted to be a part of this conference on environment and literature organized by FOSWAL and Sahitya Academy, and to be reading alongside such wonderful writers. It was a delightful story the previous Miss Lama read. And my immense gratitude to Ajit Kaurji as well, who has been organizing this festival year after year. We admire her indomitable spirit and generosity of heart. A big thanks to Dr. Anand Kumar, who has been kind enough to invite me to participate in this prestigious event for a couple of years. Congratulations to the entire Sahitya Academy and FOSWAL team for making this huge success. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been publishing and editing the Brown Critique, which is a literary journal, for over 20 years. Currently, I co-curate and host the annual Pondicherry Auroville Poetry Festival here in South India and other events as well. We also feature new and seasoned poets on our Brown Critique YouTube channel. I have 6 published and upcoming books, some of which are available on Amazon. My forthcoming 3rd book of poems is The Dream Pod, to be published this year by Copper Coin, New Delhi. I have also recently co-edited the Brown Critique Home Anthology. This afternoon, I'll be reading from my non-fiction, in my case, book called The Lotus of the Heart, Realization Stories, which I can definitely say is the result of my stay in Pondicherry. So I'll begin. Thank you so much again. So here is the book, The Lotus of the Heart, and I'll read a piece called, short piece called Memory of a Seed, or Smriti, or which can be translated as self-remembering. Memory of a seed. Take a seed, break it apart, look for some answers in it. Nothing. There is a simple word, nothing in it. These seeds, they sit in the soil, some for months, others days. The sun shines, the wind blows, and the rain drenches the earth, but nothing appears to even so much stir for a long time. Then some movement is discerned. The soil shifts, worms hold their breath, for there is this hint of a beginning. Then the seed is moved enough to remember what it had been once, the seed, not the tree. all the secrets held within that seed, the memory of the fragrance of jasmines, colors of lilies they would bear, their symmetrically shaped petals, their stems, roots, the barks, the palms, the solace, the memory, the dream, the tree. All it takes is the breaking apart and courage to be windblown, buoyant in the bittersweet joy of separation. Then the tree, she is on her own. The shaping of her sensibility, her intelligent rootedness, her abandoned hours of fruiting and dreaming of old ways and days. Experts say that there are approximately 100,000 types of trees all around the world. You can see millions of trees flourish on this planet, self-shape their destiny, knowing they've been around for millions of human years, ornamenting the planet, their heartbeats and songs heard above the honking caps and chattering of birds. They bend if they have to, arching towards the sun in an elegant Surya Namaskar, which is the sun salutation in yoga. Seeds remember trees and trees remember how they can magically green the eye, clutching one another with branches and roots, fanning the winds and storms, renewing their vows year after year, shedding the dead to make way for the fresh, springy ones. Canopies for the tired and restless birds, bees, butterflies, and everything else feed on them. Many nest and others rest. Others chop them for fire or log them for profit. Trees do not wander. They hardly have the need to do so. They possess other powers to wander as if magically. Trees simply adapt even if it means that they have to cut through the concrete of cityscapes, intertwining across fences and walls, skirting the thick smog and sorrow, flourishing and nourishing the planet. Trees are found abundant everywhere, spreading the good news. Guys, everything you need to live is here. In seeds, every morsel of grain, shape of leaf, bends of roots and branches are already designed and as if compressed. So when the structure takes shape, the tree emerges exactly the way it was meant to. Nothing taken, nothing added. Growing from a tentative seed is perfect and unique, and where it is meant to be supported by what it needs to dance, bird songs, a lake in the twilight, the slow whirring of the planet around its luminaries, dying ochre leaves. So what are we looking at? The tree or the seed? Look again. This then is the suchness of things. Trees listen to prayers and complaints of night creatures and withstand several hurricanes. Animals keep vigil from their highest of branches, and the faithful tie red and yellow prayer threads around their hearts. They bear fruits and medicine for the troubled, but never have the need to consume the fruits of their labor. They clear the air for those less fortunate and inhale the toxins themselves. We lie and sit under them after a chaotic day. They're used to burn the dead. They're least worried about what may or may not happen. They have no stock portfolios for an uncertain future. They know they have everything they need right now, and what they don't have, they can do without. If locked away in the dead of night or burnt on a cold morning, they never mind, for they have left some precious stuff behind, seeds. And seeds, remember, always. Thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you again, Dr. Devesh and Praveen Mahajan and Postwal and Site Academy for giving me this opportunity. I wish you all the success.
Thank you very much, Madam Gayatri ji. Friends, Ms. Selina Hussain from Bangladesh and Sri Aruni Kalupahana from Sri Lanka were expected to join the session, but some technical reasons they could not join. Anyway, I think this was a wonderful session with pieces of fictions written by Ms. Gayatri Majumdar and Ms. Ashwini Lama. on behalf of Sahitya Academy and Foundation of Shark Writers and Literature, I convey my heartfelt thanks to them for their participations. I also thank to viewers and audience of the session. May I request all to share the YouTube link with different social handles so that lovers of literature may enjoy this event. Thanks again. Namaskar.